Welcome to this breathwork instructional video. I'm Guru Surya. Nice to meet you if I haven't met you before. Um, so I am in my level 2 training with Keli Carpenter, and I appreciate you being willing to be one of my practicum students. So this video is required watching before we have our session. So thank you for tuning in. There's a lot of information in here. I encourage you to take it slow, use the chapter feature that we have in YouTube to break it down, rewatch some sections if you want to. But I want to start with an introduction to breath work, and then I'll move through some more details subsequently. Why breath work? What's the deal? Basically, the healing that we can experience is through presence. Presence is truly, truly a gift. And healing occurs when difficult experiences become safe to feel. So if they weren't safe to feel in the moment, or we didn't feel like that, we didn't believe that it was safe to feel them in the moment, we can feel them now because they're in the body. So this is a connection to the body through the breath. Our conscious presence with our breath is really a profound tool to bring us again into the body so that we can listen to the messages that our bodies have for us. And then we get to experience the truth of who we really are beyond our conditioning, beyond the roles that we play. And that this true part of us, the true us, naturally knows how to step into the flow of life. And then all aspects of life are able to teach us. We're able to learn from everything. We really get out of the blame and shame game when we're authentically living our true selves. So that's the motivation for going through these experiences with the breath work. So the invitation to you is to fully surrender and embrace the breath. Whatever arises is what is needed to be aware of. That's whatever that is that comes up, that's what it's asking for, is to be acknowledged. So can we acknowledge the emotion? Can we acknowledge the thought? Excuse me. Can we acknowledge the physical sensation in the body? So essentially, it comes down to allowing what is as it is. Um, Remembering that, or maybe learning for the first time, that emotions are energy in motion. And again, they simply want to be acknowledged. So we become a witness to ourselves, a witness to the breath, a witness to the body. And again, healing occurs when difficult experiences become safe to feel. And we'll be using a conscious, connected breath pattern, which I'll go over in a little bit. So before we go any further, I'm assuming that you are of sound body and mind, and that if you have an acute condition, which you saw in the intake form, that you have checked with your doctor. However, I do want to assure you that if you have any of those conditions, like as was mentioned, just in case you forget, a few of them are like pregnancy, heart condition, asthma, um, intense allergies that impact your breathing, things like epilepsy. There's more. But if you have any of those conditions, you can breathe with us in these breathwork sessions. However, you may need to modify. Um, and this goes for everyone, anyone, that we're always taking direction from the breath and the body. So a condition such as one of these might mean you breathe through the nose instead of the mouth. Might mean you move at a slower pace. Totally fine. All right, so let's get into how we're doing this breath work, right? Probably by now you're a bit curious. So the body, again, is our access point. It's the body that holds all the past experiences, physical ones, emotional ones. Those are in the body. Psychological ones, energetic ones. All the past experiences are in the body. So constriction occurs when those experiences are not fully processed. They're not held to be experienced safely. Remember, healing happens when we feel safe to feel. So healing happens through direct embodied experience. And that's what this breath work is all about. So we bring intention to the breath. We're breathing in a conscious, connected way. The inhales are deep and rich. The exhales are surrendered. They're easy. We're not forcing the exhale out. It's a circular pattern. Okay, so that means ideally, and you will work towards this ideal, there's no pause at the top of your breath, so to speak, at the top of the inhale or the bottom of the exhale. You just continue looping and looping and looping, one breath flowing easily into the next over and over and over again. And so we have this rhythm of this equal inhale and exhale, and that's bringing fresh oxygen into the body. And that's what can begin moving into the areas where the energy and emotions may be stored or stuck, as we mentioned earlier. So it's a relaxed exhale, which is going to support nervous system regulation and balance. If we do a forced exhale, which is not what we're doing here in these breath works, but what happens if you do that, that alters the ratio of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and that can create tension or intensity. So when we get into common experiences, I'll mention something called tetany. That's often brought on by a forced exhale. So again, relaxed exhales. Conscious connected breathing emphasize surrender over control. Take that in for a second. Surrender over control. So think about areas in your life where maybe you're exerting control, or wanting to force things to happen instead of relaxing and letting them happen. So I'm going to demo the breath. I'll use my hands to signal, but hopefully you can hear me as well. And there's 3 ways you saw me doing that with the mouth. And then you could do the same thing through the nose. So again, conscious connected breath. And then you could choose to inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. What's the most important part is that it's about how present we are with the body and the breath. So inviting in more when we inhale. We really want to expand our ability to receive, right? To create space with every breath that we take, to take in more, even 20% more than we're used to taking. Excuse me. So when we're feeling solid and resourced, which I'll go over in a little bit, you can create more of a charge in the body. You can deepen the breath. You can quicken the pace. You can really start to kind of amp things up. Now, having said that, you get to choose the pace and the depth that feels right for you. You can slow the breathing down at any time to help yourself regulate if things become too intense. So we have this notion in breathwork of pendulating. So we get a bit of a charge. We're able to tap in a little bit, or maybe a lot bit. And at any point, you can back off and tap into your inner resources or your outer resources. Again, I'll go over those in just a little bit. So know that you're in charge of your experience. There will be music. I'll be cueing you and making suggestions throughout the session. But remember that those are suggestions. You get to decide how you move through the session. And that's so important that you really honor your autonomy and your agency to make the choices that are right for you. And you'll know, if you're, how do I want to say this, like taking a bit of an easy, easy out, like not meeting yourself as fully as you could or can. Um, yeah, so you'll have to listen to yourself and know what's true for you. If you're kind of wimping out, so to speak, and it's not the best term, but yeah, deep inner listening is the key, and then following that inner listening. So, all right, so this next section is about some common experiences. So I'll go into some physical common experiences first, and then we'll talk about some other ones. So there's all kinds of sensations that can come up in the body. I've had sensations come up for me where I was like, I have never, ever experienced that before, and maybe I never will. Um, but the goal with all and any experiences, physical or otherwise, is to welcome them all. As was mentioned earlier, it's really about presence and acknowledgement. So really, really welcoming them all. And if you find resistance, if you notice resistance in yourself to welcoming something, acknowledging something, um, notice that too, and see if you can acknowledge that resistance. Um, and know that any physical sensations are natural expressions of release because we're endeavoring to get things moving, essentially, to stir things up a bit. So we're actually wanting things to shift and move, right? We want to be free of our burdens and free of our suffering. And so again, welcome it all. So you might have like tremors, you might have tingles, you might have stiffness, you might feel deep relaxation. The body might feel heavy or it might feel really light. There might be temperature fluctuation. I mean, there's all kinds of things, and those are just a few. There could be other things. The thing I experienced that I mentioned earlier, I don't even know how to describe it. So it's really beyond words. One thing that can happen is your throat might feel dry, especially in the beginning. If that happens, you have a couple of options. You can close your mouth and swallow and start again, or you can trust that your body will relubricate your throat as you continue to breathe, because it will. Um, some people have experienced something called tetany, which is a cramping or a strong tingling of the hands, the forearms, the feet, or the face. Just know that it's a natural response. It is temporary. It will dissipate. It might be intense, and if it feels too intense, to meet it, right as it is, it can help to move or shake or gently massage the area. Sometimes, excuse me, bringing the breath back through the nose can ease the tension. If you're feeling it in your hands, you might want to ask yourself, what am I holding on to? Or what is my body wanting to release? Yeah. All right. So moving into some of the emotional experiences, those are really common, from anger and tears to joy and bliss and everything in between. You might be surprised by what comes up. Your job, again, is to welcome it all because that's really all your emotions want is to be welcomed, like really, truly welcomed and acknowledged. It's a real beautiful opportunity to bring presence to the emotions that arise because we truly can only heal what we are willing to feel. It's so true. So again, emotions are energy in motion. If we truly allow them to be felt, they can move through us in like as little as 90 seconds and complete their cycle within our bodies. So, to the best of your ability, I encourage you to really welcome and breathe into whatever shows up for you and trust in this journey and this process. Like, really let the breath show you the way. Um, yeah. Let's move into some mentally. Like, what could be going on in your mind? You might notice that the chatter in your mind really amps up as you try to become present, especially um, if you don't have a practice like a meditation practice or some type of mindfulness practice that you're working on to, you know, practice presence. The mind might really just get very active, or old memories might come in. If the mind becomes distracting, the best thing to do is bring your focus back into the breath and back into the sensations in your body. Yeah. Um, Other common experiences on a spiritual level, people sometimes receive visits or messages from loved ones who have passed, or angels or spirit guides or from your higher self. So any anything is possible. And I just really, again, encourage you to welcome it all, whatever it is, even if it's startling, a physical sensation or emotion, you might, yeah, just welcome it all. So really, the breath is so powerful when we stay present to it. So the encouragement, again, is to keep coming back to the breath through whatever arises, surrendering to it all, keep listening to your body. You really can't get this wrong if you're staying present. Um, and if you're not staying present, honor that in yourself, really, without judgment. Like, okay, I'm not really doing this. And then come back as best you can. There's really nothing to do except breathe and witness. And sometimes for a lot of us who've been conditioned to be really busy, that's challenging. It's all you're doing is breathing and witnessing and breathing and witnessing. And you are in control of this experience. So the last chapter section here is resourcing. I hang out with Canadians, so I get to say resourcing. Remember that the breath leads and everything else follows. So I'm going to share with you some ways that you can support yourself during your session. One of those is with touch. You can place your hands anywhere, everywhere on your body to really affirm your physical form. It's very grounding to do that. So if the body is calling for that, then go for it. Again, we're trying to stay really present with the body and the breath and not in the head. So the breath leads, and if the breath leads to an area of the body that wants to be touched, then you can definitely touch it in any way that feels supportive to you. Another way to resource is with movement. So it's impossible to breathe without some movement. There has to be some movement in the body, however little or subtle, but you're really encouraged to stay fluid because allowing the body to move consciously, and the more conscious the movement, the more presence, the more awareness there is. That's the key to all of this is the presence and the awareness. So staying conscious with the movement. This might be subtle inner movements, really subtle inner movements. It might be more outer expansive movements, anything in between. You may notice yourself stiff or kind of feeling frozen. And that might be a resistance to movement because many of us have been conditioned to be still and to be quiet. which we'll get into in a second. So I'm reminding us that movement moves things. So sometimes we need to support the body with intentional movement before we can experience the body taking over. So you're encouraged to play with that in a sense. So the other thing, the way you can resource yourself is with sound. As I mentioned, many of us have been conditioned to stay quiet. I encourage you to vocalize as the body wants to, okay? And that might be a sigh, that might be a moan, it might be a scream, it might be a grunt, a groan, anything from subtle humming to intense yelling. As long as it's in service to your consciousness, allow those sounds to flow, remembering to stay present to the breath and the body. Yeah. The other thing that I mentioned for could be a resource is the music that I'll be playing. So listening to that. There's often what we call peak songs, so songs that are higher intensity and rhythm and so forth. And then there's kind of tapering off and integrating time. So your job again is to stay with the breath pattern, whether it's through the nose or through the mouth, even when the music changes. And I'll invite you at certain times to shift the pattern. But again, you're in charge of your experience. So I'll be offering cues, and that's a key word there is offering. Everything is an invitation. I would much rather you followed your inner knowing than what I'm suggesting. So really allowing yourself to listen to yourself. And it's such a beautiful opportunity. Like most of us are not practiced in doing that. We let the external world override our inner knowing all the time. So this might be challenging for you, but that's the encouragement. Yeah. And if you wanted to lay down, so to speak, when I'm saying, oh, come to seated or something like that, please listen to your body, follow that inner knowing. I'm here to support you. Your first line of support is staying present with your breath, knowing that you're here to breathe and the breath is the guide ultimately. And then in the session, beginning of this session, we'll probably support you, or I will support you to find an inner resource. So this is an area of the body that in that particular, day or time feels strong or maybe just feels okay. So that's an inner resource. It's a moment, it's a place in your body that feels resourced. Um, Yeah. So and that's a place that you can put your hands on and just affirm. You can come back to that place at any time during the session. Another resource is an outer resource. So that's something in your physical space that feels supportive. It might be, looking out the window to the plants outside. It might be a indoor plant. It might be a picture or a piece of artwork in your space, something that brings you a sense of peace, that you could look at or even touch. It might be a certain blanket or a pillow or something like that. So you'll be encouraged to find one of those. And another resource is you can always come right up to your screen and connect with me on the screen. You can always, you could unmute if you wanted to. You could use the chat box as well. And you may be encouraged to set an intention. So I'll invite you now to think about before your session as you're arriving if there's an intention, without really forcing one. I feel like for me, the best intentions are the ones I ask for, like, do I have an intention here? And kind of just feel into that versus like forcing it. Like because, anyway. Yeah. Um, just really invite you to be willing, your courage, your vulnerability. For me, I'm still working on being seen. So knowing that you're being witnessed by me and perhaps others, if you sign up to do a group session with me, um, it's really powerful and it's really takes a lot of courage. So I really applaud you for turning towards your experience, to turning towards your tender edges and meeting them all and showing up for this really, truly important work. So thanks for watching. You will have an opportunity to ask any questions before we begin our session. So I look forward to working with you and truly serving you. Thanks.